So taking up where we left off, that for Sartre, everything is a choice. That we have our freedom, and with freedom comes responsibility. What are we free to do? We're free to make choices. And what are we responsible to? Those choices that we make. Now what Sartre's going to do is he's going to outline, which I think is a really, really wise and smart philosophical move, where ultimately he's not just going to leave that in a blanket statement and just kind of let us interpret it however, but rather he's going to give us his interpretation. He's going to give us his take on how to understand our freedom and our responsibility. Okay? So next what we're going to encounter, and this kind of falls succinctly on your lecture notes here. Let's just make sure that I'm right. Everything is a choice. So again, this idea, he outright rejects determinism, this notion that everything is determined. Okay, and ultimately, we're now at the scope of responsibilities. Okay, that for Sartre, everything is a choice. And how is that choice understood? It's understood in terms of our freedom. Okay, and what are we free to do? We're free to make choices. We're responsible for those choices that we make. So now we have the scope of responsibilities. And first and foremost, what are we responsible to? We're responsible to ourselves. And this is where the quote that I ended the first video with leaves off. Okay? That man is nothing else but that which he makes of himself. Okay? That man is nothing else than that which he makes of himself, that he wills himself to be. That ultimately we are responsible for ourselves. Okay? That we live in a world confronted with choices, confronted with possibilities, and it's up to us to choose who it is and how it is we want to be. Now, will we always succeed? Probably not. But again, that doesn't negate choice. For instance, I love basketball. I love playing basketball. I love watching basketball. I really enjoy the sport. Okay? I could choose, because I have freedom to do so in the existential Sartrean sense, I have freedom to do so. I could choose to try to become a basketball player, a professional basketball player. I could make that choice. I could start going to the gym more often. I could start playing much more basketball. I could try to get better at all the areas of what it means to be a basketball player. Right? I could try out for various teams. I could try to get into, it'd probably be like the Y League for the development or for the NBA or something like that. But I can make all of these choices, all of these steps by which to try to become a basketball player. Because I have the choice to make that I have the ability to make that choice and see if it will come about. What that means, though, is ultimately, if I leave this job, if I just kind of decided today in an existential crisis moment, and I was like, well, I'm going to be a basketball player. Okay, I'm going to choose that. Okay? So I no longer finish out the course. I don't make any more videos. I don't compile the test, right? And I leave you all kind of up in the air, right? I leave you all up in the air where it would be a complete lack of responsibility for my choice when I made the choice to do this class, right? And then ultimately, I would be responsible to my other job at the restaurant, where ultimately, if I just up and left, that they would kind of be in a stage of limbo and have to figure it out in a very probably troubling and frustrating way. But nevertheless, I could still make that choice to try to become a basketball player. But if I fully examine the scope of my responsibilities, perhaps I might very well choose otherwise. I might very well choose to finish out this course, maybe kind of find a time at the restaurant where it would be appropriate for me to step away, and then start pursuing my goals of becoming a basketball player. Now with that, again, Sartre says we can make choices. We can make a variety of choices that we are responsible to. But again, that doesn't necessarily mean that everything we choose is going to work out, right? Because reasonably, if I chose to be a basketball player, I'm going to fail, right? I'm not that tall. I'm not that quick. I'm not that strong. I haven't played basketball on a very competitive level very much, right? So reasonably, reasonably, I would fail at trying to become a basketball player. But that's not the point for Sartre. Ultimately, I still have the choice. I still have the choice. And that's the key part. When we think about our existence, when we think about who it is we want to be, who it is we think we are, right? If we don't like something, we can choose otherwise. It's not going to be easy. That's one of the points. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be a walk in the park. But nevertheless, we have the choice. And I see this all of the time with students, where I'll be talking to them and they'll tell me that they're majoring in something practical, right? Something that will get them a job. And I don't mean to denigrate that. That's not what I mean here, right? But routinely I talk with students that are unhappy in their major, that feel unfulfilled, that feel that they are lacking purpose with regards to their major. And the only reason why they're studying what they're studying is because their parents have told them that that's going to be a good idea, or that society tells them that it's a good idea. Because society or one's parents or one's social structure is telling them that they have to be a particular kind of way. Oh, you should be an accountant. That's a very secure profession. You should be a mechanical engineer because that's going to make you a lot of money. It's going to be very secure, right? But I meet time and time again so many students that are unhappy, unfulfilled, and ultimately just doing and studying what it is they're studying because that's what they think they have to do. And again, in that kind of conception, that will emerge as a form of what Sartre will call bad faith or inauthentic living. Because ultimately what happens in those situations, right, is you think if you are unhappy in your major, if you're unhappy in kind of where perhaps your future is pointed you, right, that ultimately what's happening is you are not the one in control of yourself, right? If you're studying accounting, if you're studying mechanical engineering, if you're studying, a practical degree but are unhappy, you're probably doing that because somebody else told you to do it. So when we think about being responsible to ourselves through our choices from the Sartrean conception through the Sartrean choice, ultimately what we get is this idea that I don't have to be a mechanical engineer. If I love English, if I love studying poetry, then go be a damn poet. Do it. Make that choice. Make that choice. It's not going to be easy. You're going to be responsible to your parents' probably disapproval, your parents' worry, your society's worry, right? But if that's where you're going to feel fulfilled in your short human existence, then give it a shot. Give it a shot. Because we're ultimately responsible for ourselves. And yeah, that sounds selfish. Perhaps that sounds, in a weird way, especially if one were religious, or has a religious outlook, a very conceited way of looking at the world. But fundamentally, the person that we're stuck with the entirety of our lives is ourselves. So when we think about the first kind of scope of our responsibilities, Sartre might be right here. That we are fundamentally responsible for ourselves, first and foremost. We are responsible into making ourselves into what we will be. And again, we might not succeed, but that does not negate choice. And when choices don't work out, if I were to choose to say, all right, well now, I would like to pursue a PhD or I would like to do this, that, and the other, and I don't get into any grad schools or I don't get the dream job that I wanted, well, then I'm confronted with making new choices. And with that, again, it's a very challenging outlook. It's a very challenging focus on the power that we actually have over ourselves. So fundamentally, we are responsible for ourselves.